And so can you just explain for us a little bit about how the system actually works right now, how hunting does, beyond the physical act of, taking a deer and keeping down herd sizes, things like that. How else does hunting in America contribute to conservation efforts?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, if you're listening to this and you are a gun owner or you regularly shoot, thank you. There's a percentage of the sales tax off of, guns you buy, ammunition that you buy, whether or not you're a hunter or not, that go towards, through the Pittman Robertson funding, that go towards conservation, that get fed into, wildlife and game agencies. It is one of the, interesting things about kind of the way it's set up is that you do have kind of at the federal level, you've got certain restrictions and certain, rules that govern. I mean, migratory birds, for example, there are certain rules that exist at more of the federal level. The fact that you can't shoot, lead at waterfowl, that's a federal rule that I think has been in place since 1991 under the first Bush administration. But mostly, we manage game in a pretty decentralized way, and in the United States. So when you get a hunting license, you get it at the state level. Also at the state level, you've got kind of biologists and fish and wildlife agencies that spend a lot of time managing and kind of monitoring the game population, in the United States, figuring out kind of how long does the deer season need to be. If you're going to shoot grouse, how many can you shoot on a daily basis to where we were able to maintain kind of a healthy population? What do we need to do in terms of working with landowners for habitat? So my wife and I are blessed to own a plot of land in Western Maine. I'll be up there in a few weeks working with a biologist from the state of Maine, kind of looking at the land and seeing if some of the work that we've been doing to increase the habitat for grouse is paying off, for ruffed grouse is paying off. So that's all taking place at the state level. And again, if you go get a hunting license, you don't get a federal license, you get a state license, and that's kind of the way it works. And you buy into this pretty decentralized but very heavily regulated, activity, which is, again, one of just the things that's somewhat ironic. My neighbors in my extremely left-wing neighborhood of Washington, D.C. have kind of those signs that say, in this house we believe, and it says, 9 or 10 things. And one of them is always, science is real. And yet often the people that react, against hunting are the same people that have those signs in their yard. Right. And I try to say that, look, hunting is like the most scientifically, rigorously studied activity, government regulated. Like, all these things should tick a lot of boxes for left-leaning Americans like myself. And yet I think there's just deep ambivalence, probably because of firearms, and also I think the association that a lot of Americans have, and at least in their own minds, with hunting being something that that's something that super conservative people do, and that's just not the case.